Welcome back to McKinley Railway video series. I just wanted to give a quick explanation as to why there seems to be such a long lapse in the production of videos from us. Last summer, our videographer Brian unexpectedly died of a very quick acting cancer. As you can imagine, that blew us for six. He was young, relatively speaking, certainly young by railway standards at 65, had no signs of illness, and this thing came out of the blue and it knocked us all for six. We've taken some time. We've had to go out and find somebody who had a similar set of skills to Brian, as well as an interest in model railways, because it's quite a niche area, filming small models moving at odd speeds in poor lighting conditions, as well as dealing with the eccentricities of people like me and the rest of my team. We found somebody. That person is probably known to a lot of you. His name is Charlie Bishop, and we think he's going to fit in well. And we've had an awful lot of help from Brian's widow, Geraldine, in salvaging all the material that Brian produced for us at McKinley, and she has kindly packaged that all up for us and put it down to us so that we can reuse it as we see fit. So thank you to Geraldine, and in memory of Brian, thank you, and to my viewers, welcome back.
To operate McKinley Railway at its current potential, David needs a team of about 9 people. 9 people who are reasonably competent at operating different aspects of the railway. But when it gets to its full potential, we're probably looking towards a team of 12 or 15 people for a full operating session. To build an operating team, what we need to do is to be able to build the confidence and the skills of individual people so that they feel happy and not threatened by doing whatever it is they have to do. So what sort of information does an operator need to know? Well, first of all, they need to become very familiar with one of these, the throttle. The control board here. Here we have the three switches that give control over to the computer or take the control back from the computer. Here we've got the switches where the local operator can tell the computer which platform to send the train to. So if that switch is down, the computer will know to send the train into platform 2. And this array of switches are the switches that change the points for different directions. And then on top of that, they have to learn about the different types of locomotives and the different types of rolling stock. They have to be able to tell parcels vans from their coaches. They have to be able to tell their Midland Pullmans or diesel multiple units from locomotive held stock. They have to be able to recognise some of the different locomotives, like a Castle from a Merchant Navy, and a Merchant Navy from a Deltic, and a Deltic from a Sadice. When a person's become competent as an operator in using this station, then we would move them on to either Manchester or Birmingham, where they would learn the operations for those stations. London here is primarily a passenger station. It does have a parcels facility here, but it is primarily a passenger station. Manchester, on the other hand, is different. Manchester has a freight facility in addition to the passenger facility. And of course, when the freight operations become a much more significant part of the railway, operators are going to be able to need to discriminate between different types of wagons. And here are some examples. For example, they may need to be able to discriminate between a fruit van, they're the ones with louvres in the side, a Mogo van, they're the ones with end doors, and just an ordinary vent van. They will also need to be able to discriminate between a low-fit container wagon and a one-plank wagon, and between unfitted freight, they're the grey ones, and fitted freight, which are the bauxite brownie ones.
Right, we have an express train and it's a quick turnaround, Tony, so we'll need to prepare another engine.
And of course the other thing that the operators in here need to become familiar with is the schedule, which tells the operators what trains to expect.
London to Manchester, then that turns round here.
What trains to prepare, by when, and with what.
Being prepared already.
So now we've identified what the learning is that's necessary to take place. Now we've got to talk about how we do it. Well, the first bit of the how is where we start putting people, and London here is the place where we would start a novice operator.
So as a train comes in, the blue Pullman, it will probably tell us then, prepare it here. And see, that one's now cleared to go. We'll wait now until 6:50 and then we'll clear it down to go.
Each station will have its station manager, that is an experienced operator, and it's the station manager's role to train up the operators and also to overview the working of the station and relate to the district supervisor who sits out in the corridor working the computer. Now this learning has to keep in mind a couple of principles. The first is eating the elephant. I mean, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it in little bits. And the learning that needs to take place to become a competent operator needs to be achieved in small bits. And that brings us to the second principle, the Goldilocks principle. The amount of learning that you give a person, it needs to be not too much, not too little, just right. But then of course, everybody's different. Not everybody is a fast learner, not everybody is a visual learner. Some people are tactile learners. Some people need to go away and read. But whatever their style of learning is, the next principle comes in, the one of overlearning. That means where we practice and practice and practice until it becomes fluent. Just remember that time, that first time you sat in a car when you were learning to drive. You just had so many things to remember. Now you sit in a car, you don't need to remember, it's become automatic. That's what we're trying to achieve by practice, by overlearning, to make competent, confident operators. So how do we do it? The first thing people need to learn to do is learn how to use one of these. And we've created a training manual that takes people through the key elements of that, what to press, what not to press, how to enter in a locomotive ID, how to change direction, do all those basic things. And then they come here and practice it, and then they'll go downstairs, have a cup of tea, and some of that they'll forget. So they'll come up here and practice it again. And then there's also a self-help sheet which we will give to people to take away with them, and so that they can refer to it, which will give hints to the key elements of things that you do and things that you don't do. So the whole idea of that, and it resonates throughout what we do, is to build confidence and build competence.
I didn't want it.
That's how we roll in Manchester.
We finished it.
That's how we roll in Manchester, mate.
Now, at some point, you become a confident operator. And then you can move on to the next stage where you become an operator plus. Now, an operator plus may make some independent decisions based on what the station manager thinks is appropriate about, for example, allocating locomotives to trains, when to move a locomotive off a train to the engine shed. When you have got sufficient experience with that, then you can undertake the training to become a station manager. And there's another manual there that sets out the expectations and what people have to do in order to achieve that level of competence. And that's mainly around the use of the iPads. And then there is the future, the great white space out there. Sheffield will place a whole new set of demands. Halifax and Wakefield will also be different to everything else. Except running through each there will be these underlying principles that there will be a control board where the interaction between the computer and the human beings take place. There will be switches to change points, and there will be a schedule. So some commonality, but a lot of difference. And that difference will be the variety that gives the spice of life to the railway.